Welcome to the first episode of Concord's 2019-20 FA Trophy Review in the build-up to the Builder-based FA Trophy Final. Today we're joined by Club Secretary Lewis Pack, First Team Manager Danny Scopes and Goalkeeper Chris Haigh. Evening, gents. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Mate?
Hello, mate.
Today we are focusing on the Fourth Round Qualifier, where Concord entered the competition last year, where it faced Slough Town at home. The initial game ended 0-0, which meant the club travelled on Tuesday night for the replay in West London, where we won 3-2 in an action-packed game. And just before the end, Danny and Chris will answer your questions that you've sent in over Twitter. So firstly, Scopesy, how happy are you to finally have a date for Wembley?
Yeah, over the moon. Yeah, I said it on the camera the other day. I'm really pleased, obviously, for the football club. I think it's important that when a competition starts, it finished. Obviously, with us being in it as well, even more important. We just wanted that date. Obviously, it's disappointing that we can't have family, friends and supporters. That is disappointing, but I think we needed a date for it and we needed to get it done. And I think the longer it had gone on, or if we'd have left it later, the harder it would have been. Obviously, with the Euros and other cup competitions coming about and the use of Wembley, it could have been quite difficult. So I think we've got to take the date. I think we can be disappointed that there's no supporters, but I think for the benefit of the football club, to actually finish the game is really important. I think that's what we need to do, and it'd be a travesty to get this far and then not actually play a final and lose that. So I think it's for the bit of clarity and to get the job done and get it finished is important, really important.
It's been 527 days since that first round was played, so a very long road for the club. How's it been for you, Haigh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been tough. There's been times where we've kind of not been sure whether it's going to get played or not. So it hasn't been easy. The road to get here was brilliant. It was like a bit of a fairy tale, to be honest. Obviously, some of the obstacles we overcome, some of the replays we played, that sort of thing. It was fantastic. But yeah, we're just same as Gaffer, really. Just happy to finally get it played. I think we can all put our minds at ease now that we're actually going to get on the pitch and we can stop worrying about that side of things now.
Heading into the Slough game, what are your expectations for the competition?
Well, I think any season, I think that season, it's hard to remember what season, isn't it, with it, because it was so long ago. And actually, when I looked at it and I see it was 2019, it was actually just, you think, wow, 2019 when we'd started, and it's crazy to think like that. I think we went into that season just as in general without any expectations, really. I think we had a young group, we had a new group. We had a lot of players that stepped up levels. We hadn't really sat down and put any targets on anyone. Not really one for doing that in that year. I didn't think it was important. I think our challenge was to be as competitive as we could in every game that we played, and that's how we sort of started the season in the league. And that was a sort of challenge that was in front of the players. And I think you don't dream about the final when you're playing in that sort of third qualifying round. And obviously it was a tough draw. Slough at home were a good side. They got some real good experienced players. We knew it was going to be tough. And there was no expectation. I think we just played that game. We've made quite a good start to the season. So I think we were in quite a good position. I actually can't remember a lot about the game. I felt it was a little bit of dull, wasn't it? I think we played them in the league around about August, quite early in the league, and won 2-1 on a really windy day that ruined the game. And I think that the third round was a very similar sort of match as well. I think it was a bit windy and that is a bit scrappy. And other than the sort of penalty, I can't really remember lots of chances. I do remember being a little bit disappointed that we hadn't won. I think we'd had maybe a couple of better chances. We'd had a couple of opportunities, and I felt it was an opportunity lost by drawing it, because obviously going away on a Tuesday night to Slough, where they're quite good at home, was obviously going to be difficult.
Yeah, I'll just like to say, because obviously I'm sort of glad you said that, Dan. Obviously, I've always been trying to wrap back through the whole thing to try and work out the Slough games. It's definitely one, like, doesn't stick in the brain, but there is that one abiding memory of sitting in the committee room after the game. It felt like a missed chance, because there weren't many chances. I felt we edged the game, especially once obviously Haigh saved the penalty. Felt we nicked it, like edged the game, and it just felt a bit of disappointment, because you knew going to Slough away, their home record was obviously fantastic, and they got the playoffs the year before. So, there was a slight disappointment in that, wasn't there? But I suppose that just adds to the fuel to the fire. The question then, Scopesy, quickly, because obviously Euan touched on it about what were the expectations. I suppose you would have been aware that the club never got past the second round before, had they? So you're only talking a couple of wins. So obviously, would that have been a target? I know there weren't targets set, but would that have been a target you'd at least look to emulate?
Yeah, I think so. I think you always set a target or an aim is to try and get to when you're playing in the FA competitions. Obviously, the FA Cup first round proper, isn't it? I think most teams look for that and the level we're playing at, and maybe us as a club, but the level we're at, we should be able to get there, and that should be a challenge. It's a couple of games, and the draw is favourable to you. You can get there. FA Trophy is a little bit more difficult, maybe because it's a bit more rounds, a bit more further to go. But yeah, it was and as I said, we didn't really have any expectations for it. And I think, I've obviously been around the club a long time and known that the record in that competition hadn't been really great. And I don't think that added much pressure to it. I just think we were literally going game to game, and we almost were really enjoying the ride at that early point because we had some real good wins. We had a real good start, more positive start than maybe we expected, if we're honest, with a new group. We were just enjoying the ride. And I think that was probably where the disappointment come, because we'd done quite well and then all of a sudden thrown that away and maybe thought it was going to be harder, obviously, to go there, as we said, to go there in the replay. But obviously, as it turned out, and I think the whole journey, I think the penalty save, I think the whole journey, and you probably can look at it, it's real cup football, because I think there's moments in every game we've played in this competition where you're probably on the brink of going out, and real fine margins, and then going the other way. And fortunate enough for us, a lot of them have gone our way, and we've managed to get over the line in a lot of games. But I think even from that first round, that first game, with Haigh safe and the penalty, a couple of other half chances either way, it was a real fine margins, and that goes in. It's over, isn't it? And this story never goes on. And I think probably lots of teams that get far in cup competitions have that story, but this seems really special in that way, that there was lots of moments. And I think if we talk about the replay, and there was moments in that where very, very close, and spot kick away from probably going out of the competition, and it missed, and then went on from there. So it's a real good story in that, and I think lots of the games will have them little moments that goes, yeah, wow, that was close, and managed to get over the line.
As you said, Chris saved the penalty in the initial fixture. Have you looked back on that and realised how important it was, Chris?
I mean, when we obviously played a lot of games to get to the final, so I think like Gaffer said, there were so many moments, and I think there were so many different players that had their own moments. So like you kind of look at it and think, yeah, it's just a moment, but I think they're probably all as important as each other. Obviously, when it happens, you don't realise how the effect it's going to have. But I think we've got, over the course of all the games he played, I think there would have been so many moments from so many different people that would have counted the same. To be honest, I think it's amazing how many different people turn up in each game as well.
Yeah. What's everyone's thoughts on the penalty? Now, this is one thing I know from this Slough game, because I've watched it a lot. Is it a penalty or is it a foul on Jack Courtney? $1 million question.
Don't matter, mate. Don't matter.
It's bugged me for a long time. I've asked referees about this, and I've had a 50-50 split. So I'm going to ask the question to you. Did you honestly think it was a penalty? And was it a karma they missed it or saved?
Yeah, I think it was one of them that, I think you're disappointed if it's given against you, but if it's given for you, you're probably going, yeah, it's a penalty. And I think say that about the second penalty in the replay, or both the penalties in the replay that there was. So yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think it's either way. I think if I'm getting it, then I'm screaming, think, yeah, it's a penalty 100%. So I probably couldn't stand here and say, yeah, no, it's not a penalty on there. So I think it's a real close one, and like I say, went against us, but obviously with Chris making a great save and kept us in it, really. So which was deserved, I thought, on the day. I didn't think we deserved to lose that game. Honestly, feel that we deserved to get something from that, and try and get over the line in that one.
Obviously, it marked the. I think we spoke about this the other day, Dan, didn't we? It marked the debut of Scott Haigh and Kit, didn't it, as well? So it's you're talking about two young boys coming in from Huddersfield who had never played men's football, straight into a really high intensity FA Trophy game where it meant everything to them. And obviously, I feel like as much as didn't happen, it seemed to be they took it really in their stride, didn't it, on the day? Especially, like I say, didn't really notice Scott, which I think is a compliment, wasn't it? I think on the day, trying to think about it, and obviously I think that led into his performance in the replay. We'll talk about it in a minute, but he was obviously quite a key component of the third goal, wasn't it? So obviously, were you happy? I suppose you've been happy with their performance in the first game, especially their first real taste of men's football.
Yeah, I think Scott and Kit come to us on the. Not sure whether we had a game on Tuesday. I think they come in on the Thursday, I think, to train before that game, and that was their first training session. And I remember they stayed on Canvey on the Friday and available for selection on the Saturday. Obviously, we knew what we were getting with both of them and what they would offer. And obviously, Scott started that game and Kit come off the bench. And I think Kit played quite a vital part because I think we were doing quite well, and then we sort of lost our way a little bit. And he come off the bench and he did really well for about 15, 20 minutes off the bench, held the ball up, showed good strength, created a couple of half chances, I think, for himself and for someone else, and showed what a player he could be as well. But yeah, Scott stepped in, and I think Scott brought a lot of energy as a full-time player. He brought a lot of energy to the team on that particular day. And I think you only got to look at, I think if you look at one of the goals in the replays, his emotion for us scoring, just, that summed the kid up, really. I think he bought into what we were doing. It was like he'd been there since probably pre-season when he turned up. He really bought into it. Kit was a little bit different, if I'm honest, and took a little bit more time to gel, but still was good for us. But yeah, Scott come in and was really vital, and I think he played a vital part through the competition right up to the obviously the quarter final with the Royston game.
Did you prepare going into the second game differently compared to the first, or was it the exact same plan?
Yeah, we did slightly. I think we made a couple of changes. I think Kit come in for Dakari on the day, which we felt. I think the plan second going into the replay was that Kit might just be able to hold the ball up a little bit more. They were quite physical up front. We felt the longer that we could stay in the game, the more tired they could get. I think they've got a few more senior players that maybe that couldn't quite go Saturday, Tuesday. And we did have definitely youthful. I think we were probably the youngest Concord team out on the pitch at times in that early part of that season. So I think Kit come in, done really well. Obviously, Dakari come off the bench on there. Yeah, I think we prepared the same way. And like I said earlier, and there's no real tactical masterclass to it, I don't think. And I think we just went out and said, let's compete in everything we do. And I think we grew real good confidence from a couple of good wins early on, went against Chelmsford. And I don't think we feared anyone at that point. And we were just going and play and enjoying ourselves. And I think that showed in some of our play. And we knew it was going to be tough. And there's no easy games. And when you're a new side like we were, anywhere you go is going to be tough. And I think I remember the journey. I think we got there late. I think we got stuck in a bit of traffic, and then we got in the dressing room. So we had a real minimal team talk. We sort of just named the team and a few basics, and away we went. And credit to the boys, because they adapted and dealt with it. And it was a great game, wasn't it? I think it was a much better, miles better spectacle the second game than the first one, probably for the supporters.
As Haigh, so obviously Dan just mentioned that it was obviously a bit late, lack of preparation. How does that affect you in your, obviously we're going to touch on, I think one of the questions touches on this a little bit, but I've played in goal at nowhere near your level, but I know what it takes to the preparation. So how does that affect you on like a match day? How do you adapt to that?
Oh, mate, I can't stand it. The goalie is so hard because we go through the warm up so specifically to time. And normally Roche comes and ruins it anyway with his warm up and just jumps straight in. But yeah, trying to cram it all in, it's a bit of a nightmare. But it's just one of them. You just get on with it. To be honest, I'm not like me and Scotty. We're not really like very superstitious or anything like that. So it's not like if we don't get a certain amount done, suddenly we're gonna like struggle to do well. We just get on with it. Obviously, it's not ideal, but we just get us out there a bit earlier. Yeah, it was fine. It was one of those things. Just get on with it.
It's the nature of the division, really, and you do get it, don't you? I think we've had a few times this season, last season, when it does happen. You have to adapt to it, and I think it's part of the playing at the level and being good at the level and consistent at the level. You have to adapt, and you have to adapt as a coach or as a management team to what information you can have, and the players have to adapt. Some players prefer it, some players wouldn't warm up, and I think there's a few in our team that year, probably Noobs. One of them maybe he wouldn't want to warm up really, and he'd go out there and Corley's probably another that, you know, does the warm up but just wants to crack on with it. He'd go out and put his boots on and kick straight off if he had his way, I'd imagine. So it's everyone's different, but goalkeepers, like Chris said, you know, they like their routine. They have a little bit more probably to do than players as well to get themselves going in you know, different aspects of their game. So it can be a bit of a pain, but you know, credit to the boys. Don't think it really affected us in the game. Obviously, we went ahead in that fixture as well, didn't we? So
yes, yeah, we did. Obviously, that was we had a really fast start, didn't we? That night, Dan, as well. I think that really helped, and I think the pressure we had was after the first goal, and obviously I'll touch on that with Haigh at the moment. But how important was a fast start at Slough? You know, how important was that?
Yeah, we talked a lot in pre-season about first goal, and a lot of the boys were stepping up to the level. And I spent a lot of time in pre-season telling them how important throwing stats at them, that first goal, you know, lots of teams that scored a first goal in this division normally go on and win. I think the stats prove that. So we spoke about that quite a lot, and it's never easy to try and get that first goal, but when you're away from home, and I think it suited the way we played as well. Slough were very compact, they're very solid, aren't they? They're quite rigid in their shape, but very good at what they do. And I think us scoring probably maybe opened them up a little bit, and they had to sort of come on to us. And we played with people like Noobs and Lamar on the day, and Kit, and then Kresh breaking from midfield, so we had a bit of energy to get behind them. So I think they had to come out a little bit, and it created a little bit more space for us, and was unable to take that. We had a couple of chances in the first half, unable to take that, but yeah, I think that sort of affected it. But always first goal. I think first goal is so important in any game. I think it calms your nerves a little bit, and then you can dictate a little bit how you want to play and the way you want to set up with that.
Talking about goalkeepers' preparation, you had two different coaches in the competition. Did anything change?
Trying to get a good one.
The warm up stayed the same, so I've got my own warm up that I like to do. So the warm up didn't really change too much. The personality difference between Howard and Scotty are very different. So like the actual having the interaction between them was quite different. Howard just kind of like, let's just get on with it. Scotty's quite quite demanding within the warm up. So the actual warm up didn't change at all. But they're two different characters, to be honest. But I think both of them work in their own way. I think Howard was quite good because he just kind of like lets you get on with it and just knows or trust that you're going to go out there the same every week. Whereas Scotty's one of them where he just don't let you get away with anything. Even if you feel like you've done something okay and you think maybe you could have done a little bit better, he's on you. Like, it makes you feel like you could be doing it way better than what you've just done.
Sculpture, were you happy with the performance in the second game, or were you disappointed?
No. Yeah, I was. We had obviously. I think that's when we found out that we had Tossin, obviously, that was out. We signed as a right back, and we had real issues with sort of left back position. Mickey O'Donoghue got injured in sort of pre-season, was slow sort of coming back, and I think we found out Tossin was probably a better left back than he is a right back on the day, and he went out there, and Pollock went in at right back, and then Roasty and Jack Corley come in at sort of centre halves, and I think we had Blanchy and Scotty Haigh and Kresh as a free in midfield, and Noobs and Lamar and Kit up top, and yeah, I was pleased with the performance. There was a period, I think if you sort of look at the game, I think we scored first. I think it was about 37 minutes, I think, around about that sort of time. They a deflected cross, Pollock man shifted, delivered, deflected, and I think the boy Harris got on the back of Tossin at the back post, and I think it's quite close to you, Haigh, isn't it? And sort of looped up, and he scored from probably a couple of yards out from an angle, but real difficult deflection, difficult to deal with, and probably went in pretty even at half time, I think that was. And I think our message at half time was, yeah, fine, that's not, we're doing okay here, a little bit more of the same, got to keep it a little bit tight. I think we come out second half, and I don't think we did brilliantly probably at the start of the second half, and they probably started to build a bit of pressure, a bit of momentum, and I think it was around about 50 minutes or 53, they scored, and then they started to get up on top. I think Chris had to make a couple of saves, we had a couple of close blocks, and there was a bit of a period, I think, from probably 50, maybe just after 50 minutes to 65 minutes, where I actually thought, yeah, we're out here. We looked a bit dead on our feet. We didn't look like we had much in us to try and get out of the game, and we were looking off the bench to try and change it and make some changes. But I think they got on top, and that was probably their period. And obviously they scored, went to 2-1, and then they got the penalty, which, you know, again was one of them penalties. Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? I think it was a tossing again at the back post, just put his arm up to protect himself. There was a bit of contact and the lad went down quite quickly, didn't he? So, and then he missed the penalty. And I think that was a bit of a turning point really in the game at 2-1 when he missed that penalty. I think we sort of thought, hold on, yeah, again, that very close moment of going 3-1 and out of the competition. I think you could say that. And I think that sort of changed the game a little bit. And we made a couple of subs. I think Greeny come on, and Dakari come on, and that changed the game a little bit, and it was end to end. I think it was a real frantic period in the game from that sort of 65 minutes onward. It was a real good cup tie. I think that was the case, and obviously we managed to get back into it with the penalty. Dakari come on, done brilliantly, really, as we sort of expected that. He'd come on and they were a bit tired, and he kept running off the back of the centre half, and he got in and probably got in. I think he got fouled on the edge of the box, which probably could have been a penalty. It was pretty close. And I think from the resulting free kick, hit the wall, went for a corner, and then we got a penalty from the delivery in the box, wasn't it? And Greeny scored it. And from that moment, I was quite confident that we would get something. And we did it a lot that year, where we didn't sit back, and a lot of teams might have sat back and sort of held on to 2-2 and extra time or penalties, or took it to there. But I think we kept going through it. We kept pushing people forward. And then obviously the rest is history when we managed to get the winner right near the end. I think about 93rd minute, wasn't it? I think so.
Yeah, it was late. Obviously, one thing, obviously, you touched on it quite a bit there, Dan, about obviously from their goal. When I was watching the game, they've got more to them as a team, don't get me wrong, but they just had the one option, and it was they had a lot of most of their threat was purely down to crosses. I think I've watched the game back, and the left wing to right, it caused us a lot of problems. But you know, I know we conceded from one of them, and obviously they had a penalty, but it was a tough battle, because, like I say, they're rigid, they are direct when they need to be, especially for a 3G team. But for Haigh and the two centre halves to stand up to it like they did, it deserves a lot more credit than I think people realise, because when they were on top, Slough, in that replay, they were very on top. And it was, like you say, if that penalty goes in 3-1, you're done. And it was literally a bit of a... you could see from the sidelines the attitude change. It was like, oh, we're out here. We might as well give this a proper crack now. You know, and I think the timings worked brilliant. Was it about 5 minutes later, Dan? I think you're quite good. But about 5 minutes later, the passage of play you said about Dakari getting fouled, free kick, penalty. About 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, you've gone from being 3-1 down and out to 2-2 on top. Let's go for it. And that deserves an enormous amount of credit. And over these next 7 weeks, I think me and you and whoever comes on, I think there'll be a lot of these moments where we go and say we deserve a lot of credit for the stickability and the determination to get through them periods. Because there was times in that game we were under the cosh, but we did give as good as we got in the same breath. I think you'd all agree with that from watching it. Yeah,
I think the second goal, I think Haigh, you were unlucky, weren't you? I think the lad got up, got above Blanchy and headed it down into the corner. I think you had it covered, but it almost hit the post, didn't it? And then sort of spun across the line and went in. And then I think after that there was one that you saved at near post, tipped it onto the post, and it sort of looked like the wheel and back into play of the goal. But I think that was a pivotal moment as well. And there's a couple of balls in the box we had to deal with and close scrambles and stuff. But I think that save was an important save as well. Obviously didn't have to save the penalty on this one because he put it into the road, didn't he? But
he was nervous, I think that's why.
Yeah, but that save was a great save, and again, that is he started to build a bit of confidence from that maybe, and that's what. I think you're right about that. They put lots of balls in our box. That's what they did. I think you have to give us credit or stupidity. I'm not sure, but we went there with Kit as a number 9. We went with Kresh as a number 10 for us, and everyone that knows Kresh there, he's not going to sit in. He's going to attack, and he was pressing the keeper all game. And Scotty Haigh and Blanchy aren't the most natural defensive-minded midfielders, and then we've coupled that with Lamar and Noobs who do a lot in the attacking third and going that way, but they don't want to do loads. Noob does, but Lamar didn't. They don't want to do loads going the other way. That's not their skill set, not their strength. So I think that's probably why they found a lot of space and be able to put lots of balls in our box. But I think that was the nature of what we were like within that season. That team, we almost had no fear really, and we just went and had a go at people and played quite an attacking formation and just thought, well, let's see where it takes us. And obviously the results, I think the league form suffered because of the cut run. I think we prioritised, which was I think what we needed to do, and we were right to do that. I still think we had 10 league games before it got stopped that we would have picked up some good points. We were just getting back into a bit of form as well, and I think it'd have been difficult managing that and the cup, but I think we'd have had a mid-table finish in there, and I think from where we started, we'd have took that with success in other cups as well, Essex Senior Cup. Semi-final as well, which was great achievement in there as well. And only real disappointment was probably going out the FA Cup so early. So I think if you look at that was us that season, and I think with young lads and boys that want to do well, they have no fear, and I think you could see that in some of our performances and in every game in this competition. That really highlighted that, and that's what we like, and that's what we want, and that's what we're about as a football club. So it's important that we do, we get that.
Yeah, I'll obviously point to add to that as well. Is obviously, we had the no fear attitude, but what was quickly instilled to all the boys, and I'd like to see what Haigh thinks about it as well, is the Concord spirit that was driven into him. And like I say, from that period in the Slough game where we were absolutely getting bombarded, the only thing that got us through was a Concord spirit, and like I say, the let's just go for it nature, and that's a lot obviously down to Dan and your management team really instilling what Concord is about. But obviously to instill that into the boys like Haigh, who are new within 3 months, that's a big effort. And a lot of the cup run will come down to the Concord spirit. So Haigh, how was that drilled in? Was it quite clear from the start what Concord meant as a football club and what obviously Dan wanted from you all coming in and obviously stepping up the levels?
Yeah, definitely. I think it helped that from the off we had like tight games that were. I think we had the Chelmsford game early on, where that was obviously dramatic. So like quite early on, we kind of felt, all right, this is what the gaffer's about. This is what Concord's about in general. Obviously, when we first come in, we're hearing, oh, this is Concord, and you think, yeah, all right. But then like you witness it every week. Every week we were witnessing like last minute goal or like a clawing something back or like 2 men getting sent off for whatever against Dorking and then getting a result. Like we felt that quite early on, to be fair. And I think as a group, we were all in quite a similar boat. So I think we all come from a little bit lower and trying to prove ourselves at this level. And I think everybody bought into it, which I think made a big difference.
Yeah, it was a lot of boys. They knew each other. They'd played together before. They'd played in the same leagues and that. And part of the recruitment was to do that. So credit to that side. And it sort of gelled quite quickly, didn't it? We had the real good pre-season. I think pre-season was excellent. Pre-season can be a bit draining at times and can be a bit pointless for me. I hate it at times, but I thought it was a real good pre-season, and there was ups and downs in it, which helped us. But the group got together. The group were close anyway because they sort of knew each other, and it just grew. And the other boys coming in, there was a bit of a connection, quite similar ages in what they're doing, and all really wanted to be successful. I think that was the key. And adding that to people, as we said earlier, Scott and Kit, who are professionals who want to be successful as well, putting that all together, I think that sort of was the catalyst. And I think that's the glue, isn't it? That's what holds you together. And when you're up against the wall and you are in them periods where that 10-minute period where things are going against you, things like that get you over the line. It's not always technical or tactical. It is that glue that holds you together. And Chris will do what he's got to do and put his body on the line, like Jack Corley would do and Roasty would do as pals as well. And that's what we needed at that point. And I think you can go again. You can go over every game and comment the same way. I think that's and I think we did get over the line because of the closeness of the group, and that's not something that's easy to do now. In football, because people travel a bit further away, and the distances people arrive to grounds. They're not all local people. They don't all live in the same area, so it's difficult to try and get that togetherness. It's a bit old school, isn't it? But we managed to get that, and I think that was vital for us in trying to be successful and being competitive.
Having players like Danny Green and Lee Minchell, did that benefit with their experience?
Go on, Haigh. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, having asked you speak to Greeny and Minch all the time, I think there's people that you can lean on. Obviously, they've been to where a lot of the boys, wanted to go and still want to go. So they're two people in particular that I speak to all the time to get advice and ask them things about what they think and how they do certain things. I think, yeah, they were two great people to have around, and I think definitely in the group that we had, having those two there would have helped a lot. It would have helped a lot, especially keeping people grounded as well, like that kind of thing. I think it's really good having them around, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's quite vital myself. Obviously, I think Minch was a brilliant appointment. Well, teams obviously get together with you, Dan, in the pre-season. Like you say, hey, if you're going to go for a young squad, what better than someone like Lee Minch who's had the promotions and stuff, and obviously having Greeny as well. I've always thought he's a massive part of the club, and I've said to Scopesy many a time and many people that having someone like Greeny must be a godsend to a young player like yourself, especially Haigh. Obviously, you want to push on, you want to get to where he got to, and it must be brilliant. Especially the first year at that level. Obviously, we're talking about your first season at this level at this point, aren't we? And yeah, I can see it from a committee/fan point of view, how important someone like, but neither of them really played the amount of minutes that we probably expected, if you're honest about it. But they didn't need to in the same breath. But their experience must still be, you must breathe off it in the dressing room, mustn't you? It must be brilliant.
Yeah, I think Greeny showed that in coming off the bench in that game. I think Dakari come off the bench and stretched the game that way, and they stretched the ball behind them and give us that, made them drop a little bit deeper. And then Greeny come in, we pushed Cresh out wide, and Greeny come in the 10, and then managed to get on the ball a little bit, and it started to make things happen a little bit. And Danny's got a great ability of getting on the ball and looking after it. He's got that real good quality, and I think that was the difference in that game. And I think Dakari, we owe a lot to Dakari, because I think a few games he was unlucky not to start, but had a real good impact off the bench and got us over the line. And he got a look at the Royston game, and I think he come on and scored with his second touch in that game, and he's got that ability, and so has Dan. And Dan, go further down the line, someone might say at Maidstone, Greeny come off the bench at Maidstone when again we were very close to being at the competition and changed the game and put a great ball in. I think Pollock wants the goal, but I think Greeny will claim it, that one there. But so yeah, to have Greeny around and have his quality when that's needed, and both Dakari and Greeny, I think they only played probably 30 minutes of that match, but they were probably the two key players within that match that got us over the line. Really important. That shows the strength of squad, and I think we had that last year with the squad. We never had any real. We rotated quite a lot in that season. Boys come in and out at times, loans come in and out, but no one really sulked about it. No one really moaned about it, and we almost finished the season with 14 boys of the same that have been with us from the start, and that shows them in good light that they stuck around, and we managed it quite well, and it all seemed to work that way. So I think that's important. I think some people sit on the bench and don't feel that they're going to play a part in a game, but that's never the case. I think if you're on the bench, you're ready, and you can sometimes be more important than those that are out there, because the game can stretch, the game can change, and you come on and have their moments, whether that's to hold on or whether that's to go and score. So I think that's a lesson for a lot of people, and in that case, you need not just 1 to 11, it has to be 1 to 16 at times on a match day.
I seem to remember, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, that Dakar was a little bit disappointed he didn't start, wasn't he, that game? He was a little bit disappointed. So as a manager, like, how satisfying was that you had a boy that was disappointed he wasn't starting, but instead of sulking on the bench, when he got given his chance to make that impact, that must like to show that's a brilliant attitude from the boy, isn't it? Like, and it must mean the world to you as a manager that he'd done that. He showed his disappointment, which showed he's hungry and wants to do well for the club. But then to bottle that anger or disappointment into one of the best super sub performances you'll see of that season. It must be pleasing for you for that.
Yeah, no, it was pleasing, and you know he handles himself brilliantly. Dikari does when he's in the squad or out the squad, and when he's playing, he was a pleasure to work with. But same for Danny Green at the other end of the scale, you know, and Greeny would have been disappointed not to play in them matches. I think he'd scored a couple and done quite well in our earlier games as well. So you're going to get that. We try and say to the players at the start of the season that everyone will have their moment. And again, I think this cup run really highlights that and proves the point. We say that everyone will get an opportunity to lead the team. Everyone will get a moment, and it might not be your moment this game, but your might be the next game, or it might be 6 or 7 games down the line. And I think that was a real case of that squad. And I think Chris said it earlier that everybody played their part in that in each round. If we focus just on the FA Trophy, everyone had their moments in that game. I can think of every single player within our squad that contributed to this cup run and got us over the line. And I think that's what we said at the start of the season. You might get your moment, and don't get disappointed if this isn't it now, but we're going to need everybody. We're going to need everybody pulling in the same direction. And you know, I think that's been proven in this cup competition.
With that winner, Kresh, all the bench, all the players running to the corner, it's the moments like that surely the whole team live for.
Yeah. Haigh never run, he'd never get that far.
They'd be kicking off by the time we got back past the halfway line, wouldn't they?
I'll be blowing up, mate, halfway line.
We'll be the start of the next round by the time we got there. No, I think if you look at the winning goal, I think just before, I think Dikari had got in just before, and he shifted it and he put a lovely ball in. And I can't remember, I think it might have been Blanche who made a late run into the box, and they just got there. I think it was one of their players just got there before him and sort of towed it off for a corner. I think it must have gone for, and it was a real similar moment to there. And you know, then you think, I think they were bang on 90 minutes, and you think, oh, that's it, it's done, like that opportunity. And then I think we done really well. And just going back, I think there was two tackles in the competition that I remember, and there was one in that Slough game that Scotty Haigh, I think Blanchie made a bit of a sloppy pass, and the Scotty Haigh had gone forward, and then the ball was behind him, and he jumped back in and made a great tackle, turned the ball over, and that led to the phase of fay that got us the free kick. And there's that tackle, and then the other tackle I remember is Bath in the replay at Bath.
Ben Wells. Ben Wells, wasn't
it? Two very similar tackles from holding midfield players. And again, they're just two moments that you can think about that are really important. Scott don't make that tackle, get that toe in. Maybe they go the other way and that we don't get that opportunity. And, you know, credit to Blanchie on that one for making the box in the 90th minute in a replay on a Tuesday night. And then credit to Kresh, you know, he's come from right wing there, caught up with Dikari and arrived perfectly, wasn't it? I think it was sweet, straight onto his foot and a great finish. And yeah, the celebrations followed, and you know, I think we kicked off and it was done, wasn't it? I think from there onward, and you know, it was a real good win and real good performance, obviously as well. You know, to get over the line on a Tuesday night in a replay.
Yeah, the first of a few last-minute goals and celebrations like that, wasn't it? And who would have thought how many we would have had from, obviously, after thinking of that game, like to think how many we did have, and that was just the first of them. And you can watch that back and you just see all like us behind the goal coming towards you, and Rourke going mad, and it's brilliant. And that's a moment, like Euan says, it's a moment we all live for in football, and that's why we love football. Yeah. And it was a brilliant moment.
That's the disappointment this year without the fans, isn't it? And I think that's. I think we're honest, it's hit everyone quite hard. I think that, and you know, Chris in goal as a goalkeeper, you have to put up with the good and the bad being goal and the abuse you're going to get, and part of the game, isn't it? And seeing the people, our supporters, jump around, not many of us, but seeing the boys jump around behind the goal on a late winner in a lot of these games where we've got wins, and celebrating on the pitch, and seeing all that just makes you know how important the fans are and how much they've been missed this year, really, I think, in football around. And I don't think anybody would say they've enjoyed it without the fans, you know, whether you get abuse or whether you get praised and well done from or clapped to. I think it's been horrendous, really, if I'm honest, without them, and been a bit hollow in certain, you know, football ways and that, you know, which is so obviously it'd be good to get them back and for next year.
I'd give anything for a bit of abuse at the moment. I miss it so much.
Surely the boys give you abuse.
Yeah, it's not the same though. They don't mean it. They're harmless. Behind the goal, mate, you get some great abuse.
Especially when you had your ponytail, mate. You must have loved that. So you had your ponytail with quite a few of them rounds, didn't you, as well?
They've only done it. I think it was Dulwich away. They were the nicest set of fans ever. Every time I kicked the ball, they were going, sexy keeper. I thought, this ain't a football game. What's going on?
They had their dogs with them or something.
Yeah, it must have done. At Dartford, I had sweets thrown at me for some little kids behind the goal.
Yeah.
Now it's just boring.
Before we move on to the fan questions, is there any more about the Slough game we want to talk about? Lewis?
I just think Blanchie should have got there to tap him, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. And he shouldn't have given away the bloody pass again. I remember that. Now you said it, Scopes. I remember that pass. It's horrific. And I turned around in disgust. I was like, what's he doing? So I do remember. And I hope he watches this and hears me say that as well.
It was his man that scored as well while we were on it. So
Blanchie, he nearly killed us, mate. He nearly didn't have Wembley because of him.
Was that the home game, his man, I think?
No, the header, the second goal, the header, I think, was his man. Second goal. But no, it was. He was. To be, like I say, him and Scotty Haigh in there. I look at that and being a defensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded manager, I look at them two in the midfield and think, where's my defensive-minded midfielder? But to go brave, but credit to them, they did both jobs, didn't they? I thought that day they were excellent. I think on the night, and they're good in midfield. Slough, they're strong, physical, powerful in there, experienced, and I thought Scott being a young lad and Blanchie in his first sort of season at the level. Coming back into it from where he'd come out of Dagenham, and I thought they stood up to him really well. And I don't think we lost that battle in the midfield. It was a case of both boxes, really, wasn't it? That were important, and midfield sort of evened itself out a little bit. But we certainly competed and did that quite a lot across the competition.
Right, on to the questions then. From Jack Jr., a question for Scopesy. After we win the final, which day would rank as the best day of your life between Wembley and your wedding day?
I'm fortunate that I've got a family or support that love football and they understand I've been doing football since I was a kid and all the way through, and been involved in senior football since I was 18 years old on and off and at some level. So my life's been football very much. And I'll tell you a story on my, just bore you with this story, but on my wedding day, I was playing for Wakering at the time, and we just got to the semi-final of the Senior Cup. I think semi-final, quarter-final. We had Southend at home, which was a big game for Wakering, and Southend would always put a good squad in there. And I got sent off in a league game previously, and then I got married in October, and we had this semi-final coming up. And just before my first dance, one of the Wakering chairman or secretary had come to the wedding, to the evening. And he come up to me and said, "Oh, good news! I found out you're not suspended for the Southend game." So we had our first dance, me and the missus, and all you can hear him, like the camera's right in our face, and all you can hear me saying, "I can play in the Southend game. I can play in the Southend game." And that's all I was saying. And maybe I should have been saying something else and polite and nicer about the wedding day, but I was all buzzing about that I could play in the Southend game. So so football's been my life. So. My wedding day and Wembley will probably be on an equal par, I'd say. But yeah. I'm just going to say, if we win at Wembley, and I said this to Lewis, if we win at Wembley, then I'm hoping that whatever day I come home after that will be the best day.
You're very diplomatic answer, Scopes. It's almost like Zoe might watch this. You never know.
Yeah. To be fair, she supports me, and I'm fortunate, really. And part of it, getting married and to someone that's involved in football is important, and family's important, and to have someone that supports you and comes to the games and wants you to do well and be successful as well is good. And I'm fortunate in that way, so I must thank her.
From Paul Rolfe, either of you have pre-match rituals?
Not really. I've always been in the kind of feeling that I don't want to be superstitious, because if I get superstitious, I feel like I'll have something to blame if things don't go to plan. So I've got like things that go, I don't know, things that just naturally happen the same way. Like we go out at the same time and we do the same warm up and stuff. But there's nothing that if it doesn't go that way, I then like lose my head over it, because I feel like that would give me an excuse if something didn't go quite all right. So no, not for me.
Yeah, no, not for me. I don't believe in that really. I think you keep doing it, and unfortunately in football you're going to win, you're going to lose, aren't you? If you look at end result, there's going to be a win, there's going to be a winner, going to be a loser, and you're very fortunate if you go through all season not losing or not playing not well sometimes in football. And if you've got a superstition that's you do whether you put your left foot shoe on first rather than your right one because you always win that way, chances are that superstition is going to get broken at some point, and then what do you do? So then you might have to swap it around or do it the other way around, then it just seems pointless. So I think routine's important, as in preparation, as Chris said. I think that's really important, that routine as a team, that you go out at the same time, your warm-up's the same length, and you come in at the same time, you try and get that routine. I think that's a bit of a team superstition probably, isn't it? That's probably more important. But I know some people do, and lucky stuff or lucky things to do and that, but like I say, I don't think they ever 100% lucky in regard to the result, winning and losing. So you probably have to sort of control what you do, otherwise you end up double guessing yourself and maybe confusing yourself with that. So no.
I know Lewis has got a very different answer compared to that for sure.
Yeah, I'll be giving the supporter a better answer, to be honest. You two are boring. So Jack Jr., I'm
Seeing
sorry.
You in goal, Lou, you couldn't have been superstitious.
Oh, mate, you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't believe. So
I think the back four had to be more superstitious than you. They were simply hoping you weren't going to turn up.
Yeah, get rid of me. Stop that. No, so I'm sorry, Jack Jr., your secret's about to go to however many people watch this as well. So me and Jack have had a few superstitions that sort of stayed with us through the trophy run, and they must work, Dan, because we got to the final. So for every home game,
because you got a good manager and a good keeper.
Well, yeah, there is that as well. But for every home game, I had to eat something from a cafe before our game, whether that was early morning or an evening game. So obviously Royston would have been an evening game, or Leamington was a cafe breakfast in the morning. How's home was scrambled egg on toast at 8:30. I couldn't sleep all night. And then away games, I had to make sure I got my Nando's. So there's 3 of them. So that was my one. And then Jack Jr., I think he regrets this one to this day. For some reason, had Smooth Country on. The Slough game, the first Slough game. It hasn't come off his radio since, because we still haven't finished our journey. So, yeah, I'm sorry for the person that answered. The manager and player haven't got superstitions, but 2 committee members have. So, there you go.
You're always eating, Lou, so don't...
It's not a surprise, is it?
You and Kean, I've never known people to eat so much. If that's a superstition, then...
Well, I've lost weight, so I might eat that
You're
much.
right.
There you go.
Yeah. You're still not playing in the final.
Another question from Jack Jr. for Haigh this time. As the world's only Scandinavian born in Algeria to then reside in Gambia and later England, if you had to ever choose which country you got to represent at football, which would it be?
I mean, it's got to be England, surely. They got the best chance of winning something. I've lived here all my life pretty much, so I'd pick England if I could. I've got a bone to pick with him. It's Angola, not Algeria, Jack. But yeah,
boy, he's not going to like that. He's been fact checked.
I know, but it is England nonetheless.
Question for Scopesy from Chris Clark. What is the main challenge for getting the players match ready for a one-off game?
Who?
He's meant to run podcast, Dan, just so you know.
Oh, Chris. Oh, yeah. Home game only, Chris. Yeah, that one.
What is the main challenge in getting the players match ready for a one-off game in 6 weeks' time?
It's not going to be easy, is it? I think fortunate enough that we've got a good group, and we've got, again, going back, we've got good lads who look after themselves. I think modern day footballer, non-league and professional footballers are much more responsible for what they do than probably few years back. So we're fortunate that we've got a good group that will be fit and raring to go, and it'd just be a case of us trying to prep them and get them up to speed and get some kind of rhythm in what they do, and that probably be the biggest challenge. I think we're fortunate because I think we can use House Owen as a bit of a milestone, or whatever the word is, as a focus point, because we had to prepare for that really, and we come back into a pre-season, we didn't have the sort of base fitness or the games behind us because we'd had quite a long break from the season being curtailed before, and we had to get ready for that. So we've already really done it. So I think we can use that as a bit of a point of reference, and we can sort of use that to say like how we prepared for that, what we did with that, and how we want to play. I think that's quite important for that. But yeah, we're fortunate that we've got a good group, and we've got a fit bunch of lads. We've got fairly youngish group and boys that are athletic. The challenge will be to try and avoid injuries, because they come back and we try and push them too hard, then there's risk of injuries, and with the short time scale, you're not probably going to be able to recover if you get an injury. So that's probably going to be something we need to manage, or we need to control. But no, it's a challenge in answer to the question, but I think it's something that if someone would give you 100 times, you take it 100 times, wouldn't you, as a player or whatever your role is, and as a manager or a coach, and you take this opportunity to try and prepare. And I know for a fact the group and the management team will work as hard as we possibly can, and almost dedicate our life to this next 5 or 6 weeks in trying to make sure you're ready as you can be. And it's not going to be perfect. We know that, but I think that makes it more exciting. That makes it more of a challenge, and makes it a bit of a harder challenge. And I think the harder challenges sometimes bring the best rewards as well. So it's something to look forward to in that way.
Next question is for Haigh from Michael Saville. What's your technique for saving penalties?
Don't give too much away.
I was about to say, we've got a final coming up, right?
Bloody way, isn't it? It's not difficult.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like we've got our own little. I've got like my own little things that I like to try and do that I sometimes help, sometimes don't. Maybe if it works in the final, we could talk about it after. But also, like the team, the coach stuff does a lot as well. So as a team, we've got our own stuff that we do, and it seems to work quite well. Not always, but it seems to work quite well. So hopefully after the final, we can talk about it again, Euan, and we can. Yeah. Maybe I'll get a penalty save in there, and we'll get lucky.
Yeah.
What's your top 3 games in order in the FA Trophy for both of you?
You can go first, Gaffer.
I'll probably go various reasons. I'll probably go third. I'd probably go Bath, because of the nature of the game, because I felt we should have won the first game. The replay, the criticism we got for our pitch and the quality of our ground, which was disappointed. Obviously, the travel to go all the way up there, be on the pitch ready to play, and it be called off, then being called off again the following week. To go there on the back of that, I think that showed real resolve, real determination, showed real good character, and we got our reward for that. I think that whole process of them games, from the first game finishing to the last minute where we scored that winner, or scored that late goal, the boys were first class. There weren't no moaning. Was there? We got, how disappointing. You just put yourself in their shoes, got your pads on, your boots on, we're ready to go, and you're literally about to go out the door and the ref calls the game off, and you're miles away from home and spent 3 hours on a coach and got to get back up, get undressed and get back on that coach. And you think the disappointment in that, but not one of that squad, or not that I heard moaned or groaned about it. They just got changed. We got back on the bus, and to have the resolve to go back there 2 weeks later and play the way we did, with the determination we did, I think that was really good. So for the build up to it and the way we went, that'd probably be my third choice. Probably the second one would be Leamington, I would say. Me as a manager, I like my team to try and be competitive, to be physical. I think that's probably the most physical game I've seen of football. It was brutal. You know, they were brutal. I thought they were very direct, very good, front foot. We had to match them, and we had a lot of young lads and who had to stand up on that day. And I thought we did, right from Chris all the way through the squad. I think everybody stood up and become men almost that day at times, because you know, I think you play that sort of team and from the North Division, and they were real tough. They were real tough characters, and us to battle with them all the way through and take it to extra time and obviously win it on penalties. I thought that was real credit. And as a manager, to see a team do that, you know, that was really pleasing for me. Of, you know, a team that I've picked and I've got out there, and credit to the boys. So they're my two. I'm going to save the last one. I'm not going to have a first because I'm going to wait. And I'll come back to you because I've got a better game that's going to be played, and there's going to be a better outcome. So I'm going to hold my first for a little while. Yeah.
Yeah, don't blame you.
All right, so my third would also be Bath for similar reasons to what the gaffer said. Personally, also because the ref gave a pen that was never a pen, and I thought when that happened, I thought we were going to lose in the back of my head. So.
That's just another moment, isn't it? There, it's just another moment.
Yeah, exactly. and like the whole build up to it. Obviously, like turning up the week before, like Gaffer said, or 2 weeks before. I started the warm up, and then like it was so obvious that the game was never going to be on. Like all the Berg vans were shut. Like it was just so obvious that it was never going to be on. To then come back obviously and win it was fantastic, and obviously like we did it in a good fashion as well. Like it was all quite emotional and stuff. It was brilliant. Blanche had done well that game as well for the pass, which was good. And then
the corner, to be fair.
And game for me would be the Royston game. I just thought again that was obviously massive. Yeah, it was just like typical Concord, really. Went up, scored, 10 seconds later, give away a pen the other end. Like, it was just carnage. Obviously, then winning it in extra time, like just again, like Lou touched on it earlier, like typical like Concord spirit. That's going to be second. And then so far, hopefully we can amend it later, like Gaffer said. But then first, like for me, it's going to be Leamington. Just again, the way that the game went. For me personally, I'm breaking my nose, and then obviously like having the way it ended at the end was great. But I think like it's just the Royston Leamington games was a flip of a coin. Like they're two massive moments of the club, I think. And I think it was that feeling of euphoria, wasn't it? Especially with all the fans there and stuff as well. With that feeling afterwards of like you've done something really big for the club, which was great for me.
Yeah.
I think that
as a team, yeah.
I think that goes back to.
Go on, mate. Go on.
No, you go. Go. I know.
You forget about the Royston game, that was on a midweek. Could it have been called off on the Saturday? We'd all arrived, hadn't we, ready to play,
Yeah.
And we had torrential rain, hadn't we? And the guys had tried to get the pitch off, rain off the pitch, water off the pitch, and just couldn't do it. And that's just another thing that you forget. People don't realise that that had to go into a midweek game, didn't it? And I think there was more sand on the pitch than there was down the beach that night.
Pigs it all from Concord Beach. That's what we've done.
But, again, that's just another thing that, another chapter in the story, isn't it, really? I think you just keep going and going. And I think every game you talk about, every moment you talk about will just bring these extra little bits that have been challenges and real almost tough moments. Anytime a game's called off, real disappointment, isn't it? You're ready to go, and then you've got to wind it down, you've got to go again and get that motivation going again. So it's just another key factor that always deserves so much credit, I think.
I'll just jump on that quickly, right? So you touched earlier, Dan, about no fans, and that proves it, because you've both, like, the biggest game of our trophy run of the club's history should have been Haigh Owen. But it was tainted. Let's not lie, because you remember the Royston game for the celebrations. You remember Leamington for the celebrations. Haigh, we should have had that. But that just shows that it backs up your point from earlier perfectly, Dan, that neither of you picked Haigh Owen. And that was, for the circumstances around that and what it meant, blah, 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 it should have been the biggest game ever and the most one we remember the most. But that just shows that, just backing up the COVID point, really, that that's where you missed the fans, wasn't it? That was where we missed them.
It's almost like a bit of a back to front cup run, because the teams got lower divisions as you went through the competition, didn't you? But people forget Royston, I think, have lost 2 games in 23 when they come to us, and they were dead cert for promotion. They were flying. They had some real good players, and they were a real strong team. And they were coming to the National South or North, but for the National South, and they were flying at that period. So it was a real tough game. And then sort of Howes Owen, even though they were divisions below us, they were flying as well, weren't they? They were cert for promotions. They'd invested heavily in their squad and to try and get over the line. And I think they're all big games, aren't they? Because they're all part of the journey. But I think the fans after the game, I think the moments within the game, whether those fans or not, were good. But I think the fans get you over the line at times, don't they? And does that lad miss the penalty at Leamington or puts it where Haigh can save it without a crowd of people behind, maybe? Or you don't know, do you, screaming and shouting? It does. And I've seen the Howes Owen game. I think you're right. It's a big game. Again, it's a big game in the challenges, and the challenges were different for that because of the break, because of the new squad. We're putting a team together in 5 weeks of boys that probably never did know each other that time. It wasn't like the season before where the boys would come in and they had some kind of familiarity. They didn't know the styles, didn't know how that person played, their strengths and weaknesses. So again, that was a challenge as a management side and a player side to get over the line in that. And I think we got it right on the day in how we wanted to play and what we did. I think it could have gone either way on there. I think, there's no guarantees on that one. It was just about getting over the line in that one. And I think that the hard work was done before, and that one was just a case of getting together and just trying to get the result and
get over the line.
Yeah, which we did, and then wait a year till we get the final.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Good job, you.
No, it's all good, you.
I was a bit nervous for this. But thanks for joining, and I'm sure we'll speak plenty before the Wembley game.
The game, is there?
Yeah.
Did you not know? It's
Never
a few
know.
weeks.
No, thanks for that, you, mate. That was top class.
Yeah, thanks, Euan.
Cheers.
No, and you, Lewis.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
these
That's
are a
good.
little bit
Yeah,
of a go.
cheers,
Good to
Lewis.
remember.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, good.